what are the sides and many sided Europe, and how do they play into the book?
Well, obviously, all of the countries are trying to advance their own interests. And then, of course, there are people within some of the delegations who have personal interests which don't necessarily coincide with their countries. But there was a lot of, there was concern that Russia was getting, it was a very large country, obviously, and there was concern that they were getting quite expansionistic. And that the Tsar could potentially be another Bonaparte by some people. Britain particularly was worried about that. There was also concern about France. France, on the other hand, who was represented by Talleyrand, who was a very clever politician who managed to stay in power through numbers of changes of regime, and he had been Napoleon's foreign minister, and he now was representing the restored French monarchy at the Congress as their foreign minister. He was trying to get the best deal possible for France. Austria was concerned about Prussia expanding too much, and also about Russia, and so they were trying to, and there were obviously lands that were in dispute between these different larger countries. And then the smaller countries, Poland, for instance, wanted an independent Polish state, which Russia in a way was advocating for, but then they wanted it sort of to be in their sphere of influence. There was a lot of debate about what was going to happen to Saxony. Then there were countries that were still ruled by the rulers that Bonaparte had set up. So Naples was still under the rule of Murat, who'd been one of Napoleon Bonaparte's marshals. Some people thought it was very important that Murat be got rid of and that the original monarch be restored in Naples. Other people thought that was not necessary and also was very difficult to do because, after all, he was the sitting ruler at the moment. So there were a lot of competing interests. There were also delegations sent. There was a delegation of Jewish people who were there worrying about rights for Jews. There was a delegation of publishers who were worried about copyright issues because copyright infringement was a problem internationally, which I found fascinating when I was researching this. And there were various other delegations that were sort of pleading the causes of various other different groups.